My bell didn't work back there. I'm going to try it again. There we go. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. You guys might realize that I'm not Bernadine, and she is not feeling well, so I will be your worship associate today. How's everybody doing this morning? Yay! Well, I'm welcoming you this morning to Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are so glad that you are here. My name is Kelly, and I'm a member of this congregation and multiple committees and groups, and lots of fun. I offer a special welcome to those of you joining us for the first time, either in person or online. We are grateful that you are here, and we are looking forward to getting to know you. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of each and every person through anti-racism, anti-oppression, support for the LGBTQ+ communities, working for reproductive justice, voting rights, and other issues as the world calls us to side with love. We seek to build a beloved community, not only here, but in our surrounding area. Everyone is invited to join us for social time following the service. Those here in person are invited to join us for light refreshments in our fellowship hall that's on the first floor, back here behind the sanctuary. Go down this hallway, it makes things easier. And at 11:25, please join us for religious exploration and small group activities. There will be worship reflections here in the sanctuary, and additional offerings are listed in your order of service. If you are viewing online, we hope to meet you soon in the future. Now we pause to light our chalice as a symbol of our shared Unitarian Universalism faith. The lighting words this morning are from Brené Brown. Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world, our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. In the spirit of love in the beloved community, let's greet and welcome each other to this new day as we share our congregational affirmation, we need not think alike to love alike. Now, please, in the spirit of love and beloved community, greet and welcome each other to the new day. Those in the sanctuary, feel free to move around to offer greetings. And for those online, please use the chat to introduce yourself or unmute to say hello.
It's really low.
This isn't just a place of worship. This isn't just a congregation of like minds. This isn't just a Sunday morning filled with spirit and topped off with coffee and cookies. This is our church, our congregation, where we are building beloved community, where we are opening ourselves to each other, where we trust and love, rise and fall together. This is where we feel safe. This is where we know we are welcomed. This is where we belong. For this gift and so many others, we are grateful. Please rise in body or voice as we join together in song, number 188 in the gray hymnal, Come, come, whoever you are.
Okay, the drum is louder than your voices. I will be quieter on the drum and ask you to sing it one more time, and this time sing it with gusto. All right, and this time we're going to do it again, but you're not all going to sing the same thing at the same time. So I thought about how we're going to divide up and decided it this way. Except maybe that won't work. I was thinking that those of you who had on light colored clothing, everything's subjective. Don't you know everything is subjective? All right, if you consider what you have on or your mood to be light, you're going to sing with Reverend Christina. All right? And if you are, don't have a dark mood, but if you consider what you have on to be dark, then sing with Kelly. That's right. Okay? All right. And that you're going to bring them in when it's time? Yeah, sure. All I have to do is play the drum. Here we go. Ready? And come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, causes no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Wait, Kelly, you've got to bring them in. Okay, I'm going to help you. All right, here we go. Ready? Go. Come, whoever you are. Come, worship whoever you're leaving. Causes no caravan of escape. Causes no caravan of despair. Come yet again, whoever you are. Thank you for letting me do that.
Hello, I'm Reverend Christina Branum-Martin. It is so good to be with you this morning. I want to acknowledge that the choir is away at a big retreat today, and with that being 50-plus people, and rain and spring break, you get the gold star. You came anyway. It is so good to be with you today, and I also want to acknowledge that Kathleen Tomlin was here for 10 years plus and moved away, and we're so glad to have you back as visitors. We've come to the time of sharing our joys and our sorrows and our concerns in our community. And Kelly, would you put the stones in for me? Thank you so much. For this morning's ritual, we have the stones that we have in a bowl that are heavy and smooth. They have weight like the things we carry in our heart, and also smooth in the things that we carry inside of us and carry around. When we put it in the water, it shows its beauty and color, and hopefully the water receives it with a calm sense of understanding, like this community can. The first stone we put in each week is in honor of the Cherokee and the Muskogee nations, of the indigenous peoples who lived on this land before us. and the next is in honor and acknowledgement of those wrongly enslaved who labored on this land for hundreds of years. And the last one that we do each week is to acknowledge those who are hurting in conflicts all around the world. Within our community, we have two things that are written in the book. This book is usually at the back of the sanctuary, and if you ever need to add something to it during the week or in the mornings, we will welcome your input. Lee Purcell adds, "It is a great pleasure to share with you that I finished my novel." Yay. Lee adds that it's been such a friend to me to work on it each morning. I'll soon be starting a new book. And Bernadine and Tom Cudeleta ask for your loving thoughts, for their hearts as parents, for their daughter Cheryl is facing a recurrence of her cancer. The treatment plan is to be scheduled and unknown thus far. If we could acknowledge, too, that we are here together in community, and today's theme is belonging. And so I want to acknowledge those who are here after being gone for a long time, or those who have dared to cross over this threshold for the first time today. May we welcome them back with loving arms. Let's finish our time of joys and sorrows and concern with the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. And the words will be on the screen and are also in your order of service. May we all be filled with loving kindness. May we all be free from harm and suffering. May we all be well in body, heart, and mind. May we all be at peace. Blessed be.
Hi, everyone. In the lead up to Emerson's annual stewardship campaign, Claudia has asked me to share a little bit about how I ended up at Emerson and what it means to me. My name is Christy Hausman, and I have been attending Emerson since the summer of 2022, and I became a member in November that same year. I often feel that my journey to this congregation and to Unitarian Universalism has spanned half a lifetime, and I'm sure many of you can relate. For some context, I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian household. To make a tedious story very, very simple, I flew the coop, became the first and only person in my family to receive a college education, moved to a Muslim country in one of the poorest regions of sub-Saharan Africa, read a lot of Bart Ehrman, and in the prophetic words of the great R.E.M., I found myself losing my religion. My husband Pat and I met under this context. You could certainly say that we were both simultaneously pushing the hard reset buttons on our own lives. We believed in kindness, in love, in compassion, and in the inherent goodness of others. And as Oprah's Super Soul Sunday has since taught me to articulate, I was looking for profound emotional intelligence in a partner, which now I feel like is the basis of UUism, and I found that in Patrick. We moved to Woodstock in 2021, and on my commute home from Atlanta, I would often be routed past Emerson. I was dumbfounded by that big rainbow sign, and I would often talk to my husband about it. What kind of church could this possibly be? Surely they have been kicked out of their denomination's association or conference. Was it a gimmick? But the damage sustained from my prior church experiences had rendered me far too suspicious to investigate. No more manipulation for me, I was a free thinker. Lo and behold, kids entered our lives and threw a wrench in our plans. Patrick and I had taken in 3 foster children from different backgrounds, and it didn't take us long to observe that they were missing a spiritual nourishment in their lives. Try as we might, the two of us realized that we couldn't go it alone. We needed a community to surround them, a community of like-minded people who could help to instill the values we are trying to teach at home. If only such a place existed. We spoke about starting a support group or about investigating that Rainbow Church on Canton Highway. Then we experienced the loss of our first foster child. She left our home after 7 months and was returning to circumstances that we knew were less than ideal. I was distraught and sought the help of a therapist to help me process my grief. As so often happens in therapy, I found myself on the receiving end of questions I had not anticipated needing to answer. We talked about my childhood, my family relationships, my belief system. Well, I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian household, I explained, but I no longer subscribe to a particular religion or doctrine. I believe in love and in kindness. I believe in respect for all. I felt myself stumbling through my exposition. It had always felt really hard to articulate in our socio-religious climate. Okay, so you're like a Unitarian Universalist, the therapist proclaimed. Well, you guys know what happened next, right? As soon as our session had concluded, I Googled the Rainbow Church on Canton Highway. What followed was an exuberant conversation with Patrick in which I explained there are other people like us. They call themselves Unitarian Universalists, and they're the ones who are responsible for the church down the road. Now I am the legal adoptive mother of one of those 3 original foster children. She's our firstborn, Emily. And I am expecting, thanks. And I am expecting to give birth to our first baby boy in just a few short weeks. Emily, now 16, likes to remind us frequently that now we are being tasked with the responsibility of raising a child from scratch. And while that is indeed a new adventure in and of itself, we are quite confident that we'll be just fine because of the family we have found here at Emerson. I am so immensely proud to be able to raise a child from scratch in this community where we embrace the messiness of being human and are free from the harm caused by man-made doctrine. Because here he will always be loved for exactly who he is, whomever that might be. Thanks.
That was profound and moving and hard to follow. So I'm going to talk about sharing the basket this month. So on behalf of the Emerson Social Justice Team, I'd like to let you all know that this month we are supporting Freedom University. One way we put our prayer of loving kindness into action is by partnering with other organizations who work to bring love, kindness, and justice to the world. Freedom University is an Atlanta-based school that gives assistance to undocumented students who are unable to access higher education in Georgia because they were required to pay out-of-state tuition. Freedom University provides tuition-free, rigorous college preparation classes and college and scholarship application assistance. As a result of Freedom University's efforts, 50% of their students have earned full scholarships to college over the last 4 academic years. For those in the sanctuary, as the basket is passed, please feel free to offer a donation or see in your order of service other ways to give. And for those online, go to emersonuu.org, select the Giving tab to donate. All donations, unless otherwise specified, are shared equally between Emerson and our partner organization.
And while the ushers are here with our baskets, can I invite the young and young at heart to come forward? Michael has a wonderful story, and I see the story quilt today.
Do I need to get the handheld? Have we got it? Oh, there we are. You can hear me. Good morning. Today, we have a special book. It's a little longer than our normal book, but I love this book. Now, the adults, when we go out, and the kids who stay in here are going to talk about belonging. Does anyone know what that word means?
It means to, well, for different types of belonging, it could mean to literally belong, or it could mean to, like it could be something like spiritually to emotionally belong. Like,
Right. You can belong to something emotionally, spiritually.
yeah,
Yeah. Literally belong. Another way to say it is to be a part of something, right? And what can you be a part of? What things can you be a part of?
anything?
You can't be a part of anything. Hopefully it's a good thing, right? Hopefully we belong to the good thing. Garnet? You can be a part of life.
The Matrix.
The Matrix, yes, yes. How about your families? You can belong to the community here. You're right. There's lots of things. So, this author, in order to belong, you have to notice things. You have to catch things. And so this story today is called Noticing. And I want you to notice the pictures because they are beautiful in their artwork. Yeah, see if you can find them.
At the back of the book, I see a dragon.
You do, in the back, you can see a dragon. Okay. All right. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? It seemed as if someone was talking to me. It's okay, I guess, I replied. Just okay? A woman sitting nearby responded, why, we have the birds, the trees, the sky, the questions, the what ifs, and the why nots. I'd say this is indeed an exceptional day to be alive, don't you think? If you say so, I shrugged. It seemed like an ordinary day for me. Are you a painter? I asked. I like to think of myself as more of a noticer, really, she answered. I just try to make things from what I see. It is my way of appreciating and honoring them. As I looked at her canvas, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. How could someone create something so amazing, I wondered. She was definitely a painter. She looked over to me and asked, when you look up, what do you see? Clouds? You see clouds? That's all? Just clouds, the painter asked, astonished. I think so, I said, uncertain as I scanned the sky. Why? What do you see? Oh, so much, she said excitedly. It's like the whole sky is tempting me to be amazed. I see wild horses running free, and an upside-down castle. I see whales flying like songbirds, and a dragon breathing fire. But it's not only that. I'm filled with butterflies of excitement. It feels like an adventure is unfolding, and I don't want to miss any of it. I stared up, wanting to see what she saw. The more you pause and allow for the extraordinary, the painter explained, the more you find it. And often, what I see depends on what I look for. Take this mountain, for instance. She gestured to the horizon. A climber might see a great challenge. A scientist might see the movement of an ancient glacier, and someone else might notice the cool breeze traveling from its snowy peaks. Though we all may look at the same thing, we don't always see it in the same way. That is true for mountains and also people. When we look at others, we may see their faces, or their clothes, she continued. but we are only seeing a tiny piece of who they really are. We often don't notice the important things, like their capacity for love, what they hope for, and what they dream of, and who they can become. We can often miss the most beautiful parts of them. I wondered what I was noticing. I wondered what I was missing. "What do you see in you?" said the painter. I looked down at my hands, my clothes, my shoes that were a size too big so I could grow into them. How many have had shoes like that? Yeah, we've all had shoes like that. Just a kid like any other kid, I suppose. But you are not like anyone else. In fact, there isn't another person exactly like you anywhere, the painter encouraged. And the amazing thing is, there never has been, and there never will be. I'm not sure there's anything all that special about me, I said. Oh, but everything is special about you. There really isn't a single thing about you that isn't extraordinary, she shared enthusiastically. You are a rare and unique combination of what was and the bright possibility of what can be. And you know what? So is everybody else. Everyone shines and needs to be seen. Everyone wants to know that they matter, that there is a place for them, and that they are needed. Sure, some may hide their brilliance, but the light is in there, always flickering, and it is a beautiful thing when we can reflect it back at them. I always looked forward to my visits with the painter, I had to admit. So much as I couldn't wait to see her, I also couldn't wait to see what she saw. On one occasion, I went to find her, and she was sitting peacefully with her eyes shut. "What are you doing?" I asked shyly, not wanting to interrupt her. "Hello, you." She smiled and waved me over. "Some days I find that I can notice even more when I close my eyes," she explained. "The gentle rustling of my hair, the ideas dancing in my head, the sunshine on my face, and the wonder of being alive." She invited me to close my eyes. "What does home look like to you? What does kindness feel like? What does love look like?" the painter asked. "What does it feel like to have a friend? What does it look like to be one?" One of the most important ways we see is with our imagination. So many significant things cannot be seen with your eyes, but they are very real, and it is vital that you look for and believe in them. I was filled with a feeling of calmness and appreciation. It was moving and wonderful. I sat there with my eyes closed, picturing the people and places and things that meant so much to me in my life. One of the best things you can be is interested, the painter shared. When you are interested, you are curious. And when you are curious, you discover things, amazing things about yourself and about the world. The marvelous is everywhere and in everything, wanting for us to notice it, waiting for us to appreciate it, waiting for us to love it. It's been years since I first met the painter. I miss her. I wish she was here still, so I could tell her what she meant to me and how much she helped me to look at everything differently. But mostly, what I wish I could say is thank you for seeing me. All right? Yeah? Good. Shall we sing our song of dedication?
I grew up in a congregation where the children would come for the story and then leave and be gone for the rest of the service. So it is such a joy and an honor to be able to look out and see all of our young faces still here with us. It makes me feel comfortable and secure that what we are doing is raising our children in a way that allows them to see what it's like to be together in community, and that's the theme of today's service, belonging to community. If you would join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation at this moment and feel your body secure and held by the chair. You might even notice if you close your eyes or dim your focus. You might hear the sounds around you and even the breathing of the person next to you. These words by Reverend Marta Valentine is titled In Gatherings. In gatherings, we are stirred like the leaves of the fall season, rustling around sacred trees. The leaves are tossed hither and yon until we come together, quietly, softly. We come to gather strength from one another. We come to give strength to one another. We come to ask for strength from the Spirit that surrounds us, the Spirit we might call all that is and is not, or perhaps even that which has many names and no names. When our heart sings or when our heart frowns, it is the way of compassion telling us to give to the moment. It is the way of peace telling us that we can share our gifts. For we are the happiest and most powerful when love is made apparent in and through us. Spirit of the circle that is love, as we twirl in this dance that is life, we give thanks for reminding us that each day our task is ministering to each other with a searching glance, with a safe touch, a generous smile, a thoughtful word. Thank you for reminding us that we are always building the beloved comunidad. Thank you for reminding us that through our covenant with you, we covenant with each other and are made whole. In this circle that holds all life, in this circle, in this room, may we ever work towards widening its boundaries until there are none. Amen, paz, and blessed be.
Today's reflection on the theme of belonging was written by Bernadine, and it's so beautiful that I want to go ahead and share it with you, even though she can't let us hear it in her voice. I knew I shouldn't be going in there. I was always told not to do it, that I didn't belong there. However, I was determined to do it, even though I knew I was running a huge risk. My fear stemmed from being taught to never go into a non-Catholic church because I would lose my faith. And when that happened, there could be no redemption in the afterlife. And there I was in a Unitarian church service, risking it all. Let me explain why I was willing to tempt such a horrendous fate. I think I can sum it up by saying, the place you are used to is not necessarily the place you belong. However, belonging is probably as necessary to a person's well-being as water and air. As social beings, we need a sense of connectedness to others, and that connectedness means being accepted for your authentic self. Put simply, belonging means to be accepted for your true personality, values, and ideals. Your authentic self needs to align with the group. So in my case, I may have fit in, superficially, to the religion of my birth. I knew the right prayers, I knew the right hymns, I knew the right answers, but I never felt like I belonged. I never felt accepted for my doubting, for my challenging or questioning. While I was used to it all, I felt at my deepest level that I didn't really belong. So I attended the Unitarian Universalist service, and the first song shocked me. They sang, "Gather the Spirit. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials in this light appear all the same." The thought ran through my head as the song continued. They get me, I get them, I belong here. I had found a faith community where I really belonged.
Thank you, Kelly, for sharing Bernadine's beautiful words. I want to tell you a little bit about something that I did in 2011. I was in seminary, and I went to Haiti to work building houses after the earthquake had hit Haiti. And hold off on the pictures just for a second. When we arrived at Port-au-Prince and we were driving through town in order to get to the highway that had just been rebuilt so that we could go to the central part of the island, I saw miles and miles of tents. And mind you, this is a year after the earthquake. So people had been living in tents that were leaking and dripping for so long. And you can go on to the next one now. In central Haiti, we gathered rocks and dug trenches to make a foundation for houses. And the eco-village that I was helping establish were with teams of people who were local and were farmers, and also Unitarian Universalists who had come from the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. And we gathered rocks all day, dug trenches, mixed cement, even the water to mix the cement we carried from the river. Let me see the next picture. Here I am carrying some rocks. And the next. We moved them from place to place with long lines of people to save our backs. And that was very helpful. We carried the water from the river for the cement. Many people carried it on their heads, but after I tried a few times and dropped the precious water, they told me just to carry it. And because Haiti had had so much devastation ecologically in their topsoil, and because goats like to eat things in the garden, we built gardens out of tires. That here I am with a machete cutting a tire open to turn it inside out to make a garden area. And after a long week of hard labor, we took pictures on the last day with big smiles, with pride about our work. And this is our small group of intrepid volunteers. And then the last night we were there, we were sitting on the porch of the house in which we were staying, and surrounding a circle was this chalice lit in the middle. And we were proud and reflecting of the work we've been doing. And I realized that I was kind of having an existential moment, a moment of asking, who am I? I am far away from home. I'm far away from being a wife, a mother, a student in seminary, an employee, and this work, which felt so meaningful, just by being present, I felt swept up in the moment. And there was a sense of always asking, what am I going home to? Who am I? And that question leads to, whose am I? Whose am I? Douglas Steere wrote once. He said, there is no relationship to the self outside of relationship with others. He said, you cannot be a person by yourself. He said, you have to ask, whose am I? So then that led me to question and reflect in this moment. In many ways, I came to Haiti to work and to do good in the world, and I was honored just by being there and putting my hands and my back into my labor that I made a difference. Was I making a difference at home? I don't know. Was I making a difference in the world? I needed to ask, who needs you? Who loves you? To whom are you accountable? To whom do you answer? And whose life is altered by your choices? Whose life is bound up inextricably in obvious or invisible ways with yours? I asked these questions, and I realized on that porch that night that I knew my answer. I was Lee's wife. I was Mia's mother. And I was soon to be Garnet's mother in a few years to come. I was a daughter. I was a friend. I was a seminary student. And I was part of a community. I realized in that moment, without a doubt, that I knew I belonged somewhere. And with that realization, I knew I was eager to go home and back to my life and back to where I knew I truly belonged. Truly belonging, Brene Brown writes, is something magical. She says, when you say the word true belonging and you say it out loud, it just feels right. She said it feels like something that we all crave and need in our lives. We want to be a part of something, and we need it to be real, not conditional or fake or constantly up for negotiation. We need true belonging. But what is it? Brene Brown, a researcher on vulnerability and researching our experiences of shame and connection, wrote a book once called The Quest for True Belonging and the Courage to Stand Alone, Braving the Wilderness. And she lays out these thoughts. Belonging is the innate human desire to be a part of something larger than us. And because that yearning is so primal, We often try to acquire it by fitting in and by seeking approval, which we are not only doing at harm to ourselves, but these are the actual substitutes for belonging. Sometimes fitting in and giving in to what others need of you is a barrier to true belonging. She says true belonging only happens when we are present to our authentic, imperfect selves. Our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. And that kind of takes me by surprise. There's a paradox there. I need to accept myself fully for who I am, in my uniqueness and in my imperfection, like the little girl in the book. That level of self-acceptance is what is needed for me to truly belong to you. Belonging to ourselves means that we must be brave enough and courageous enough to stand alone and to brave the wilderness of uncertainty and vulnerability and even self-doubt or criticism. Brené Brown says, "The world sometimes feels like a political or ideological combat zone." Anybody recognize that feeling? It seems as if t-shirts and cars and billboards all tell us what to believe and who we are, right? Sometimes we forget, she writes, that even though we're utterly alone, we are connected to something greater by group membership. More than politics and ideology, we are connected in love. We are connected by the human spirit. No matter how separated we are by what we think and believe, we have a common bond. And that is something in Unitarian Universalism that we hold so dear, that interconnected web of existence, that interconnected web of interrelation. As we seek true belonging, Brené Brown reminds us that it's not passive. We can't just sit back and hope to belong. She says it's not belonging that comes with just joining a group. It's not fitting in or pretending or selling out because it's safer. It's a practice. It's a practice of how to be in the world, a practice every day of that which requires us to be vulnerable and get uncomfortable, and sometimes getting messy, and sometimes even getting hurt. But we do that without sacrificing who we are. When we want true belonging, it's because we know we are willing to walk the hard walk. She says you don't wander into the wilderness unprepared. Who here has gone hiking and used a map? It's funny, I have a collection of old maps, and I can't seem to get rid of them. GPS just doesn't feel like I can trust it all the time. I like those old maps, and my mom told me when I was growing up this interesting thought. She said, the map is not the territory. She reminded me that the territory itself is the hills, the valleys, the things that we see, but the map itself is someone's lens on that. Somebody else put that view onto that map. And she reminded me that a map itself is one that we can make for our own life. So as Brené Brown said, we don't wander into the wilderness unprepared. She says standing alone in a hypercritical environment or standing together in the midst of difference requires one thing over another. She says it requires trust. to brave the wilderness of life itself, the territory that we walk and traverse in our lives. We must learn to trust ourselves and to trust each other. Joseph Campbell once wrote, "If you can see your path laid out in front of you, step by step, you know that that's not your path. You're following someone else's. But if you can see ahead of you and not know where you're going, then you know you're making your own way. That is your own path." What I think is really interesting about what we're talking about today is our need to stand alone on our own 2 feet and accept ourselves and know who we are. And by doing so, paradoxically, we can then belong to each other because we are our authentic selves, our vulnerable, our imperfect, beautiful selves. And true belonging to ourselves and to each other is not something that's easy. And it's not something that just comes in a moment and stays forever. Sometimes we find ourselves dancing back and forth in relationship. And that sacredness of being a part of something, when we reach a place of truly connecting, Maya Angelou writes, "That price is high sometimes, that work of finding oneself, but the reward is great." I love the paradoxes that we live with in Unitarian Universalism. We don't perhaps believe the same thing that the person sitting next to you might believe about the afterlife or about how we got here, or even the spiritual practices that might help and take you through your days. I was here the other night, and there was a music group playing on Thursday with an accordion and a guitar and a flute and some drums, and then the Buddhist group was sitting in their room, hopefully trying to find some quiet while it was loud in here. I always wonder if the Buddhist group is if it's hearing the music kind of like the way a Buddhist monk once, there's this great video of a kitten playing on the Buddhist monk's lap. And I wonder if the Buddhist group is thinking, I wish they would be quieter. No, I see Anne shaking her head that it is okay. What I think is so ironic and paradoxical about being a part of this community is that each of us are our own persons with our own belief system that gives us meaning in our lives. And what matters is how we are together, not that we share the same creed or beliefs. This is what bonds us together in community. And I hope that if you ever have moments like I did in Haiti, when I asked myself, do I want to just run away and do something else? Do I ever want to find myself in a place where I could just start over and be a different person? I hope that what you feel is the pull back to this community, that here is where you are seen. Here is where you can be connected and be in relationship with each other. And like I did in Haiti, when I knew in a moment that I wanted to come home, I wanted to come back to where I truly belonged. And I hope that you find that here. I'm going to close with this reading by Starhawk, and it's called "We Are All Longing to Go Home." We are all longing to go home to some place, a place we have never been, a place half remembered and even half envisioned, a place that sometimes we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. That place is community. Somewhere, there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands that will receive us, and eyes will light up when I enter, and voices will celebrate with me whenever I come into my own power. Community means strength. That strength that joins when we do the work that needs to be done, and arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing, a circle of friends, somewhere where we can be free. May Emerson be that place for you on your journey. And if today is the first day for you to be here, may you be welcomed into this community with care and tenderness. If we haven't seen you in a while, know we have missed you. And if you are here every Sunday, may we return into this room the energy of care and love that we receive with each other each week. So let's rise in body or voice and sing together, "My Life Flows On," an endless song. It's number 108. So I know that sometimes when you have a new minister, they bring songs that are new too. So thank you for bearing that difficult hymn with me. I recently received a loving list made that said, these are the songs that are the Emerson favorites. And I'll take that as a hint that you want a few more of those. So they're on their way, I promise. Kelly, I'm going to go ahead and say that announcement and you can put out the chalice. The closing words today are, that we extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of commitment, or the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment, These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. The one announcement we have for today is that one of our congregations here in Atlanta called Abundant Love, which is in the West Atlanta, just south of I-20, started by a colleague, Duncan Teague, knowing that there was a need for an African-American-based religious tradition, Unitarian Universalist congregation in that part of town. And they've been meeting at a lovely place called Hammond House for many years. But they have recently rented a congregation nearby, and they're going to follow the tradition of African-American religious church tradition, he says, by marching from the old place to the new with exuberance. And it kind of reminds me of a second line or something in Cajun tradition from New Orleans. So anyone who would like to join today, he says, the more the merrier. We're going to gather at 2:50 at Hammond House and march to the new place with music and song, and you are welcome. I'll be there. May you go now in peace and take peace wherever you go.